Hello. I feel like I haven't recorded in ages, but it's probably been like a week or a little less than a week. And the last few days I've actually gotten back to writing a little bit again. And I just released on Substack the third key in the Oraculous Lineage series that I'm creating in what I'm calling triadic transmissions. So there's the recording on YouTube, the overflow, deeper dive on Patreon, and then the written essence on Substack. And so I just completed the third key in the Oraculous Lineage series. Avalon, Irish mythos, druids, druidess. And I also felt like there were some just sort of like focus on back to basics and integration that I've been experiencing like the last 5 days or so. I also received some critiques and feedback on my content that I'm creating, although I didn't really ask. It just kind of like happened in ripples, and I just really need to like sit with myself to see, like, why am I creating? What do I need to change, if anything, So I was kind of just like going through these processes, if you will. So collectively there could be a similar experience going on. If you're finding this, that you may be also sort of going through a bit of like a reflective, sort of almost diverting your energy into perhaps other focuses that maybe you pulled away from for a little while, depending on timing for each one of us. But and so then I just did not even plan it. I got the inspiration to start writing the next Substack article and creating the next triadic transmissions. This is not a part of the Oraculous Lineage series. I'm completing, well, like I said, I completed the first 3 keys, but I'm just letting that series complete when I feel like it's completed. And I'm not putting my any time constraints or deadlines on it. The keys come in like synchronistic activation, 303 on the timer, and I've been seeing that number quite a bit. So you could be seeing 303, repeating 3s, repeating 0s, combinations of both. Sort of like the 0 point of creation. Like there's something that is continuing to sort of like cycle around. And the 4th key that's coming in the Miraculous Lineage series is the Bulgarian Roses, the Bulgarian Rose Ray. And so I've been sort of feeling the buildup for that 4th Cree. What is someone could be working with Kriyas, because I meant to say key, but Cree came out, or a Kriya could be relevant for someone. But working through this activation for the next key. So I feel like that will be coming pretty soon. I feel it sort of boiling up. There's a jezva, if anyone is familiar with. I believe it's spelled D. There's like a specific sound in like the Balkans language. It's pronounced jezva, but it starts with a D. Of course, if that is your native language, then I'm not trying to like school anyone. I'm just bringing through, So there's like an analogy. I'm like learning how to use one. And there's like a process to it to create. It's like a Turkish style coffee that has like a foam on top if it's made properly. But it takes a little time and patience, especially if you're not used to it. And so the energy right now for creative projects, creation energy, whatever it is for you, feels like it's going through this analogy of the jezva, this way to create and make coffee with delicious foam on top. And it's like you get the water hot and then you take it off and then you add in the grounds and then you like let it sit and then come back to the top on the heat. But you have to be really careful because it easily overflows. Trust me, I learned the hard way. And then take it off, and they say to do it like 3 to 4 times to really get the sediment at the bottom and then like the foam on top of the coffee. Yeah, so there's something about that, like savoring, and like once you finish making it, it's like it's really it's like a stronger type of coffee. So it's like, you know, meant to be sipped. So there's something about that energy coming through. Okay, I want to dive a little bit deeper now because last night when I was laying in bed, I could feel the right side of my heart almost like a, so I remember silver dollars. I don't know why I was shown a silver dollar. I used to love those when I was younger. I completely forgot about that. But like a silver dollar with like more dimension, size, like ache in the heart. Like it just was honestly really painful. And I was just breathing through it. Of course, generally the right side for me is like the masculine energy. So it was like this, yeah, it could come through the father lineage. So if this is like an internal masculine aspect, yeah, it feels like it's coming through the fauna. The fauner. Why do I keep saying this word? What is a fauner? The father lineage. It also could be a hyper masculine sort of trait with the women in your family, or just like the feminine energy being hyper masculine. This could also be coming through an external person, people, however it comes through for you. And I just had to like stop what I was doing and breathe through this. And I could tell it was collective. I was getting messages while I was breathing through. And I really wanted to record, but I just didn't feel like the right time. So here we are now. So I want to keep that as like the theme for this transmission and go through the different energetic strands that are coming up and then allow the layers to be revealed. So speaking of that, the next Substack article that I'm writing, I wrote most of it, but I need some fine tuning, and this triadic transmission, next I'll record the YouTube portion and then the Patreon. I am calling Claire Cartography the art of integrated divination, gradient auric flow, something like that. And Claire Cartography, I've mentioned before, it's something that's been coming through my channel for quite a few years now. So if that sounds something of interest, yeah, I'm going to be like not only creating this triadic transmission, which I will highlight in the next recursive pulse, the newsletter that I've created on Beehive. There's a link in my description box if that's something that interests you. Just like an inner circle newsletter for different highlights and whatever I feel is like wanting to be included. Anyway, so this is coming through because Claire Cartography, Claire is like clear in French, and cartography map, so clear mapping, and again the art of integrated divination. There seems to be like an accumulation of it's like when I'm trying to tap into this right now, like I felt guided to talk about it, and now I feel like I'm being rerouted. So I'm just going to trust that because it's not flowing out. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce that or reintroduce that. But I think it's leading into this idea of next phases of integration, of mapping our inner planes and allowing for the reflective external catching up, essentially. Okay, so brings me back to a dream that I had last night. And in this dream, there was a lot going on, actually. But the part that is standing out to me, there was a blackout in the dream, like the electricity went out. And I was trying to get ready for something, and it was daytime in the dream, so I could still see, but I was sleeping in the dream. So what I like to call inception dreams, when you're like waking up within a dream, you know, like the movie Inception. And you may have heard me say this before, but I actually can never stay awake. When I tried to watch Inception, I fall asleep, ironically. But I always joke that like I just live Inception dreams, so maybe you do too. But anyway, so it was sort of like an Inception dream. It wasn't as layered as some other ones that I've had, but I was sleeping and waking up and then into this blackout. And then when I woke up, actually in this reality, all the electricity was out. And I was like, oh, thanks for the heads up. And then it happened again, like a few hours later, there was another blackout. But it was daytime, just like my dream. So I often talk about lately, and I have not checked the graphs for like the Schumann resonance and the coronal loss ejections and like the geomagnetic activity. But quite often when I'm shown a blackout some way, whether I'm channeling it, dreaming it, etc., there tends to be these blackouts. And from like a physical perspective, they say the blackouts on these charts are literally like the weather affecting the reading of the graph. And then those of us who feel called to like interpret this do so. And I have seen someone recently, I'm not sure why this is coming through here, but I saw someone comment on someone's like video about interpretation of these charts, saying like that everyone's making this up and that there's nothing, you know, energetic, emotional, or spiritual about it. It's just literally a weather like translation. And I totally get that. And I understand why it kind of threw me off for a second, because actually, as I was writing this article about claircartography, I was reminded of the most likely phases that a lot of us seem to go through, of like the am I crazy stage, or am I making this up, especially when it comes to like interpreting energetics. And so that, you know, it was like this week, again, there were just these like waves of like reflection coming through, whether it was people, comments, you know, of like, oh, you need to change your content, you're not doing this right, or like, if you want to be successful, you need to do this is what the algorithm says, or you can't interpret the chart this way, you're all full of crap, you know, like it was that kind of thing coming up. And a couple of years ago, or whatever amount of time ago, that probably would have like thrown me off for like literally months. Like I would have gone into like a tizzy and questioned everything I'm doing, which of course I think there is like a healthy element to always like coming back to our own inner awareness and, you know, just checking in with ourselves and aligning with our integrity, etc. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this through because it feels like, again, there may be this, speaking of like a blackout or a loss of electricity, it feels like internally a lot of us may be this week and or whenever you're finding this, experiencing this sort of internal, I was calling it like an internal rehaul recently. I think that was one of the last transmissions. And yeah, even like when people are well-meaning and give you feedback, and it could be, it may even be true, but it's like there's something about trusting your own inner, for those of us who feel like we are navigating this like deep inner, almost like seemingly illogical form of the way we live life. And like the Fool card in tarot was coming up so strongly the last like few days. I started rewatching a show. For some reason, Firefly Lane. I don't know why. I guess like in some way I needed a little bit of that drama. I don't know, but fireflies could be significant. You could be seeing those, or maybe you will soon. And I was speaking actually as I was writing the cartography article a lot about like self-illumination and like bioluminescence was coming through. Now there's this like deeper aspect. Ooh, my stomach is grumbling as I'm recording this all of a sudden. I'm getting redirected again. I feel like this is happening. Oh, the show. Okay, so part of the the part of the show that actually is standing out to me right now, if you've ever seen the show, one of the main characters, Kate, has a daughter, Mara, and Mara's talking to one of the other main characters, Tallulah Rose, and the daughter is like saying that she's like, I don't know, it's like I feel like too weird and too normal all at the same time, or too boring, or not exciting enough, but yet also too weird. And it's like that paradox. And I feel like, I don't know why that stood out to me, but some of us here could feel that way sometimes. Like sometimes you feel like you're just too weird and no one will get you. And then other times, oh, too ordinary. That was the word she used, too ordinary. And then you could also like simultaneously feel too ordinary. I know I've definitely experienced that, so I don't know why that felt so potent, and I just feel it coming through. So I took a little pause and I wanted to just get a little bit of information about within like the last 36 hours within the like Schumann, CMEs, charts, etc. And before I get into that, I wanted to touch back into the dream, because these, this blackout dream, and then having 2 blackouts during the day, like my dream said, like within, it was like early morning that I had the dream, and then I woke up, like I said, to the blackout, and then like there was another one a few hours later. So some of you may be tapping more deeply into like more like premonition type experiences. You may be like having a thought come in, and then it happens, 2 minutes later, 2 hours later, 2 days later. And so some of you may be going through like refinement processes on how to work with like precognitive premonition type experiences. Now, for someone who's already very adept at this, you could be having an increase in others around you going through it, and they may be coming to you like for advice, or just maybe like synchronistically linking where you may, if you have clients, you may be getting more clients, wherever you're at with this. So if you already are tapping into this with clients, you may almost like be seeing if you want to call it like the student dynamic, like the student then becoming the teacher. Like you may be actually like assisting others so much that then people are coming to them now, for guidance. And then like your student may be coming to you actually more now as like how to help others with it, not just how to navigate it. So I went pretty deep into the potentials, but that is what was coming through. Okay, so actually I was just talking to someone about this who I met where I'm staying here in Montenegro, and we're going to take a little trip together tomorrow to Kotor, 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 a nearby, pretty nearby where I'm staying. I think it's like a 25-minute bus ride or something to visit a different city. So I'm going to try and take some footage so I can like share some of that as well. But yeah, I know that's been coming up for this person, and I was also feeling it energetically for others. Okay. So I just typed into Gemini for an update. So I didn't fact check. I just heard mic check, 1 2 1 2. What's that from? I don't know. Okay. So allegedly, there's been a bit of, quote, energetic static in the atmosphere the last 36 hours. Schumann blackouts on the Schumann resonance spectrogram, specifically the ones from Tomsk, Russia, which is always the one that's like the place that I often hear when I hear others speak about this. That there have been several black vertical bars over the last day or so. And it's funny that Gemini is saying this because I was just talking about the comment that I read, someone talking about the scientific view, that these are technically data gaps, however you say that word, data, tomato, where the sensors stop recording. So I want to acknowledge that, And then it gave me a perspective because I've been working with Gemini to like assist with my stream of consciousness thoughts, and the bullet point, the mapping view. In our lineage work, we often see these as, quote, system reboots, when the resonance is so high or the electromagnetic shift is so sharp. I feel like I'm having such a hard time speaking in this transmission. Electromagnetic shift is so sharp. The human-made sensors literally cannot register the frequency, resulting in a, quote, blackout on the chart. Then it talks about the solar catalyst, the M-class flare. There was an M5.7 solar flare that erupted from sunspot region AR4436 on May 10 and May 11. Okay, and then this said to cause the actual R2 level radio blackout across the Atlantic, which was also accompanied by a CME, or a coronal mass ejection. A blob of sun stuff is the way it translated, that is currently grazing Earth's magnetic field, and the specific solar activity is known to cause fluctuations in local power grids, exactly like the 2 blackouts that I experienced today. So again, when we look at the scientific aspect, that's not what I'm trying to negate in any way, but the fact that synchronistically there's been this theme of, like I said, like in this experience where I had a dream of the blackouts that correspond with the actual grid or what's going on. This is like the more, I guess you can say, the mysticism aspect that I have an interest in and that I like to tap into. So, yeah. Ooh. I just felt a little heartburn come on. So, yeah, there could be some like excess heat purging out of the body. Like I said, there was that pain in the right side of the chest. Not like from like a medical advice or anything of that nature, but this is more like medical, intuitive, energetic translations and energetics. Yeah, I just want to point that out. But headaches, migraines. I had a migraine the other day. I had a few since I've been here. I feel like I didn't have them for a long time, and they've been coming back a little bit. And again, they tend to coincide with like different energetics that come through. And so, yeah, there could be I just felt like something moving, an energy moving through the crown. Some of you may like be getting chills right now, like really deep chills, or like I said, like almost like hot spots. That's been coming through quite a bit. And this silver dollar size, almost like circular what I'll call miasma, frozen light in the right side of the heart. Okay, there was another dream that I had recently where I sent a text message to, I'm going to use myself as the collective feminine to the collective masculine. I sent a text message, the collective feminine sent a text message to the collective masculine saying, why don't we take mushrooms and have a hash out, like let's hash things out and have a conversation, like, and take some mushrooms. Now, mushrooms can be so symbolic. In the dream, it was like psychedelic mushrooms, but like there could also be something really potent about really any mushrooms that you feel connected to. I was just shown Amrita mascara and wood ear. Is wood ear a type of mushroom? I just heard wood ear. Hold on. Yeah. Wood ear mushrooms, edible jelly-like fungi known for their distinct ear-like shape, crunchy texture, and mild earthy flavor. There could be something going on with the ears. Like some of you could be going through like a clairaudient activation or an integrated clairvoyance, clairaudient activation, for example. So anyway, this collective feminine energy in the dream proposed this, like, even if it's not literally, of course, psychedelic mushrooms, but this idea of, inhibitions being released, like a back to innocence, sort of like lay it all on the table. And as the collective masculine was responding, like the 3 dots came up on the text, the collective feminine accidentally typed something and then went to delete it, like it was an accident. And then the collective masculine deleted and never responded in that message. So when I woke up, I asked, like, what was the energy behind the message? Like, what was trying to be sent that hasn't sent yet? And that feels key. It hasn't sent yet. Like, it feels like there's something coming in. And again, it was right when I was having that pain on the right side. So, this could be like an inner dialogue within the self, right? The inner masculine, the inner feminine. It could be structures within our society. Like, these, like, this inner feminine essence of ready for a new way of being, and like the masculine structures that are up still sort of formulating. So take it how it fits for you. It could be multiple ways, but yeah, so when I woke up, I was still kind of like in a space of just quiet and receiving, and so I tuned into that dream and I asked, like, what was the energy behind that? And a song started playing in my head so loudly. It was Unbreak My Heart from Toni, Braxton. And it's been in my head since, like, off and on. I just keep hearing it in my head. Unbreak my heart, say that you'll love me again. Yeah, so again, that coinciding with that feeling that I was getting in the chest of like 3 of Swords energy in tarot. And so, yeah, collectively it feels like we are working through a lot of these dynamics that have continued to play out in the heart of affairs, the affairs of the heart. And the feminine polarity is like ready to lay this all out and, clear the air in a way. And so again, whether it's like taking this within the self and then seeing how it shows up externally. I have so many notes that I have written down. So I'm going to check those before I close out this transmission. Also, the Kardashians have just been like making appearances in my dream again. Like every so often have these like recurring dreams with the Kardashians for some reason and the Jenners. I don't know what it is. I'm not feeling guided to go into detail at the moment, but there's something that feels relevant to that, and we'll see what comes from that. But okay, I kept hearing references to like a crack and glass breaking. So I have often spoken about, for me, a sign or repeating synchronicity of glass breaking. Sometimes like we may get a clue of something cracking before it fully breaks, right? Not always, and sometimes a crack will be there for a very long time before it ever officially breaks. I'm also seeing like cracks in like the earth, being shown the earth's crust and the tectonic plates and like fault lines. I have not checked on earthquakes, but there's something about earthquakes that are coming through, symbolically. I'm hoping not literally, but I don't know why I'm being shown like Japan and like Southeast Asia, the South Pacific, Polynesia. I just felt like this pang on the left side of my ribs and like the left ribs. So for me, the ribs are always like empathic absorption. I feel like I just need to breathe through that for a moment. Okay, so back to glass breaking, or the synchronicity through that is generally when there's like some sort of quantum leap or collective timeline jump, etc. And references to glass breaking. And there was a glass that broke in the kitchen that I'm staying at the other day. There was just like so much about glass breaking. So yeah, it feels like whatever wording you want to use, it feels like there's been another collective jump in some way. And so welcome. I just heard welcome. Okay, a song that popped up actually as well on my YouTube page. I haven't heard the song in quite some time. Dig from Incubus. I loved Incubus in high school actually. And they've been coming up again here and there. And I don't know, something just told me to click on it. And so I did, and it had 222 likes, 222K likes. I should be more specific. So you could be seeing 222. Often it's like duality, but also balance. Again, there's like a lot of paradox coming through. And something told me to look into the lyrics of Dig Incubus, and there's something really significant about like the underlying energy of that song and the lyrics. 333 on the timer. By the way, themes of the spiritual meaning of the wood ear mushroom can range from dark folklore to themes of listening, resilience, and spiritual nourishment. Yeah, nourishment. That has been quite a highlight. And actually the last however many days I have not been recording, I've been really focused on like slowing down, nourishment, face masks with honey. This mosquito every night comes to visit me. Hello, mosquito. Yeah, so slight irritants, a little bit of that parasitic thing happening, but overall there seems to be this like really big emphasis on whatever nourishes you, and okay, dig. We all have a weakness, but some of ours are easy to identify. Look me in the eye and ask for forgiveness. We'll make a pact to never speak that word again. Yes, you are my friend. We all have something that digs at us. At least we dig each other. So when weakness turns my ego up, I know you'll count on the me from yesterday. If I turn into another, dig me up from under what is covering the better part of me. Sing this song, remind me that we'll always have each other when everything else is gone. And especially the part, so when weakness turns my ego up, I know you'll count on the me from yesterday. If I turn into another, dig me up from under what is covering the better part of me. Yeah, so it really feels like, again, internal aspects of ourselves, no matter whatever you want to call it, external layering, programming, anything that brings us away from our own true essence, if you will. It's like there's a coming home to that essence. And even if we sometimes like falter or have these, as it says here, turns our ego up. Of course, I don't always use the word ego in like a negative context, but for sake of this song, it's like, anything that brings us away from the better part of us, right? So yeah, there could be, again, someone externally from you who this song could be connecting with, but also it really also feels like internal aspects of ourselves. So that was just really coming through so strongly. And when I decided to listen to the song, like I mentioned, and I was just getting like full body chills. So whether it's this song or like something else that's speaking to you through like physical, tactile, somatic responses, a song, a poem, a movie, maybe there's multiple things, but it feels like right now there's definitely something like getting your attention in that way, with like a similar underlying message to what I just spoke of in the song Dig. There also seems to be a big emphasis on like the Pentacles in tarot, and I was talking about the Fool, and in the show Firefly Lane, if you've seen it, there's like an episode where the two main characters they're in high school and they go on this like adventure, and they hitchhike and they meet a guy who has the Fool from the tarot tattooed on his arm. And yeah, it's just like this theme of like adventure, newness, a little foolishness sometimes, really coming through. And Pentacles, I feel like there's been a lot of emphasis on like the tangible realm, like so there could be some sort of increase in your own pentacles, whatever that means for you, coming through, especially if you feel like you've gone through that like rubber band effect. Like maybe there's been like a job change and or career change, something that like maybe you took a pay cut, or if you don't have a job, it could be that whatever it is that you consider your pentacles, there could have been like a feeling of loss in some way recently. Some of us that call it a tower moment. And when I say recently, it could be within the last few weeks. Some of you, it could be the last few years. And it feels like there is that rubber band effect, when you pull back and shoot further forward, it feels like that's what's going on right now. I'm seeing like the meteorologist report where they like show like the forecast, and it's like sun with sunglasses with sunshades. What are they called? Sunglasses. Like sunny. It's like there's this report of like sunshine up ahead. So many numbers as always, but 27, 177, repeating sevens, 4242, or just like mirroring numbers have been coming through. Yeah, 999. Also, it feels like through this I will say next phase of high self-integration. So whatever that means for you, has been very potent the last few weeks. So some of you could be like doing, like meet my future self, integrating my future self. Some of you may have, or just have had like a high self walk-in experience. Like maybe you just like walked in more of your oversoul or your monadic, you've connected with your monad. Like there could be something like that where, and if it doesn't come through in those words, it could just be like, you feel like there's, again, like this return back to your true essence. Like there's more of you within you. Like there's a wholeness that's coming through. 4004 on the timer. Another example of this idea of like being pinged beforehand, like some sort of premonition. There was this dog that I met a few weeks ago when I first got here into Montenegro. And it seemed like it needed help and I wasn't sure. So it like followed me home and I went to go get it some water. But then it started raining actually. And it like didn't actually like seem to want anything after that. It just like walked me back and then went away. Like when I came back, it was gone. Anyway, so I hadn't seen this dog again. A few weeks go by. The other day, I'm laying in bed and I just got a flash of this dog. And I was like, okay, I feel like if it needs anything or whatever it is, like I just kind of sent a little like energy work to the dog and just like, yeah, I just had a flash like so strong of this dog. And then literally the next day I was walking to the market and a different dog showed up and I was like, oh, I need to carry around like little dog treats in case I keep running into these dogs. So I went into the store and got dog treats. And when I came out, the dog that was there was not, but the other dog who I'd seen weeks before that showed up the night before was there. And I was like, oh my God, hello. I had a feeling I would see you. And I tried to give the dog a treat and it just didn't want it. So, yeah, it just like came up, said hello, and then went over in the sun and lay down. It has a collar, so it may have like, it's a lot more free range where I am here. And if you're from Montenegro or like the surrounding areas, feel free to like, comment on how like the cats and dogs around here, like, because some of them have collars. I can tell like some of them maybe have homes, but they're just like more kind of like when I was in Costa Rica, it's like more free range. Like the animals have way more freedom. Anyway, yeah, so things like this could be happening for you. Again, maybe not that exactly, but just, you're really tapping into or getting pinged before things physically show up. 333 again. Okay. I also kept seeing the word like apology. So some of you may be getting some sort of like unexpected apology in some way, whether it comes through a dream, a letter, a text, running into someone. I don't know. It feels like there's apology energy in the air, and butterflies. Butterflies have been coming through so strongly lately. So you could be seeing butterflies. I don't remember if I spoke about this in the last transmission. The word conduit was coming through so strongly. So those of us tapping into this home essence, if you will, it's like the conductivity of our auric fields are becoming more streamlined, and our process is speeding up. So whatever that means for you, could be like certain manifestation, the way we receive information, if you're tapped into the clairs and extra sensory, things could just be coming in more cohesively. And yeah, there's something about this. The field being more conductive. Is that the right word? Yeah, like being a conduit. But however that comes through for you, of course. And, the song from Queen, We Are the Champions, for some reason started playing in my head, especially mistakes. I've made a few. That part was coming through really strongly. Right, with that, like, Three of Swords. So there could be something about just, like, yourself and or someone you're connected to is, like, going through this phase of, like, past heartbreaking experiences in some way. And the mosquito is back, so I'm just trying my best to let it be, but sometimes it just comes so close to my face and I'm just like, brr. Okay. Back to the birthday. So I saw my birthday. I cannot even tell you how many times in such a short period. It was like, at one point I was just giggling because it was just like, in a day I may have seen it like 8 to 10 times. It was just like boom, boom, boom. And then there was all these other messages from other people on YouTube like, you're about to receive, gifts. And this has been coming through. I think it came through like the last transmission that I posted or the one before. There's something about like the path of ease or the path of least resistance. And you may be like receiving these seemingly small, just like gifts, like an example, I went into the kitchen where I'm staying. It's a community kitchen to do something. I don't even remember what. And there was a guy there who doesn't even speak the same language as me and just pulled out an instant coffee out of his pocket. It was like an instant hazelnut cappuccino or something, a packet. And he was like, here. Like he couldn't even really say here for you, but like he was just giving it to me, and that happened, that like kept happening. Like little things, like I just walk in somewhere and someone's like, here, have this cake, have this pie. Like, a lot of it's sweets. I don't know. I feel like, yeah. That's funny. Maybe if like you don't seek out sweets a lot, maybe like, I don't know, it's just like, here, have some sweets. Like that's just like an example. There's the oracle card from, I believe it's the Starseed Oracle from Rebecca Campbell. Surrender to the sweetness, so this could be like showing up in that way, but it's just an example. But yeah, again, these like seemingly small gestures, I feel like are leading up to receiving bigger experiences. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much